Welcome back to the video series about the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. In the previous episode, we heard that Venerable Sudatta was looking for an ideal garden to build a monastery, but encountered difficulties. Finally, he discovered the beautiful garden of Prince Jeta, son of King Pasenadi. Although the prince had no intention of selling, Sudatta cleverly persuaded the prince to cede the garden by promising to cover the land with gold. Prince Jeta initially considered it a joke, but when Sudatta made his promise, he felt surprised and ashamed at Sudatta's determination. Sudatta explained to the prince the purpose of building the monastery to serve civilization and culture, helping people escape ignorance and fanaticism. Prince Jeta, touched by Sudatta's kindness, agreed to let him use the garden, on the condition that the trees in the garden would belong to the prince. The construction of monastery was carried out on a large scale, including many amenities for the Sangha and visitors. Wealthy Sudatta also plans to help the poor and protect the surrounding environment. Venerable Sariputta, who was assigned the task of designing, instructed Sudatta on the laws of nature and feng shui, emphasizing that the Buddha's teachings focused on the cessation of suffering and did not pay too much attention to external factors, outside. Finally, the Buddha and the monks visited Jetavana, which had become an important center for the propagation of the Dharma, emphasizing the importance of learning and equipping the messengers of the Buddha with knowledge. Tathagata, The Life of Shakyamuni Buddha, Volume 36. Because the Venerable Sariputta informed them in advance, the Buddha and the Sangha arrived at the top of the capital Savatthi when the rich man Sudatta and Prince Jeta arrived to welcome them. Looking at the bright, noble appearance of the Buddha and the solemn, bright, leisurely, and free monk group, step by step, stretching into the distance, the rich man Sudatta was moved, excited, and so happy that he shed tears. Prince Jeta stood silently. A sacred reverence had come to him. "Hey, rich man, exchange land for gold. This generous prince offers a beautiful garden." Tathagata already knows the merits of the two. Buddha stopped, smiled at the lotus flower, and spoke to the two people. "Now you guys go first. Tathagata and the Sangha want to sow the fate of holding the first alms vase in this famous capital." Then the elders quickly consulted and divided paths. The golden dragon suddenly interrupted each time. Each space was very beautiful, sequentially turning into different paths. The Buddha, Venerable Sariputta, Ananda, and about 100 monks entered the main road leading to the city center. As usual, regardless of rich or poor, there is no distinction between high and low. Potatoes, cassava roots, spoons of rice, spoons of porridge, a little curry, slices of cake, steamed dough, whatever. The Buddha and the Sangha all received it respectfully, and at noon they arrived at monastery. Great monastery. The other groups also returned one by one, like golden birds disappearing in the green garden. The image of the Buddha and 500 monks dressed in solemn bowls and clean beards and hair spread evenly throughout the capital is an important event happening in the country of Kosala, the most powerful in the northwest. Having eaten food and then resting in the incense room for a while, the Buddha, the Venerable Sariputta, Ananda, the rich man Sudatta, and Prince Jeta walked around looking at the places. Although the project was not completed, the Buddha could still imagine its majestic stature. The forest garden campus is very large. It takes a few minutes to run out of land. Everywhere the workers are crowded and they work quite quietly. The main and auxiliary works are probably 3 times more than bamboo forest. Scene details. Walkways, stone benches, grass gardens, lakeside, streamside are done very simply, naturally, but no less elaborately, and art is being formed here and there. Furniture and living amenities are all used durable materials and are very carefully calculated. The synagogue and lecture hall are very large, high, and airy, with hundreds of square and round doors in harmonious coordination, patterns and motifs typical of architectural art of the era. Some bathrooms also have fireplaces, with tall chimneys which will be burned with fragrant wood. The hospital, it is said, has a capacity of about 100 beds and is very comfortable and clean, and will recruit specialized physicians for care, management, and administration. In short, not only did the millionaire waste money from the forest and lose money, but also his gray matter, his brain, that of his master, and that of Prince Jeta, and at most, perhaps the Venerable Sariputta too. Returning to the incense room, the Buddha commented, "Although the project is not finished yet, it seems to be very perfect. Hey Sudatta, if Tathagata's dharma is developed in this country, his merit is the best. Prince Jeta, after contributing to the forest, should also learn about the dharma to bring peace and happiness to himself." Finally, Tathagata praised Mr. Sariputta as well for advising on such a unique project, with thousands of intricate architectural details, somewhere harmonious, tight, eye-catching. It's not easy either. In addition to the efforts of professional architects, he must have worked very hard. Bhikkhu Ananda was very subtle and said, "The world-honored one's assembly hall and incense room resemble royal palaces." Venerable Sariputta laughed happily. "That's right, there is also some advice from Prince Jeta here." In addition, the main group of architectural teachers in charge were invited from Gandhara. Most of them had graduated for many years from Takasila University of Architecture, so they knew their job well. Everyone is happy. The next day, the rich man Sudatta and even Prince Jeta contributed to organizing a large offering ceremony to the Buddha and the monks in the middle of the forest. Elder Sudatta respectfully opened his mouth. "World-honored one, how should the disciples arrange and make offerings to the monastery, Great Vihara, to be in accordance with the Dharma and law?" "Hey Sudatta, please raise your mind to make offerings to the monastery to the Sangha of the 10 directions, both now and in the future." The Buddha's words were like a contract for the rich man to hand over the right to use the facility without transferring the ownership right to perform the ceremony of pouring water on his hand like in bamboo forest. Also from that clever saying, the right to use the monastery, Great Monastery, is not limited to the Buddha and the monks here, but to the monks of the 10 directions. Thus, the rich man Sudatta is still the owner, and the monastery Great Vihara he only lends to the congregation, on permanent loan. The next day, the wealthy man Sudatta offered to place the Buddha bowl and the Sangha at his home. He invited hundreds of notables, intellectuals, and close friends to come and listen to the Dharma. After eating, the monks returned to monastery. In the middle of the large hall, with only Venerable Sariputta and Ananda standing in attendance, the Buddha preached a simple Dharma, talking about the happiness of human life, with special emphasis on lay people. "Hey guys," Buddha said, "a lay person has righteous faith, has a religious mind, has a pure and virtuous life. They enjoy 4 types of material happiness in this world. That is the happiness of possessing wealth and true assets, Atthasukha, the happiness of using and enjoying wealth and assets correctly, Bhogasukha, the happiness of not having to owe anyone, and finally the happiness of not being laughed at or scolded by people, Anavajjasukha." What is the true happiness of owning wealth and property? Here, lay people create wealth and property through their own sweat and strength, through diligent efforts to stay up late and get up early, through their own righteous profession, not through theft, due to illegal business, due to scheming, due to deceitful tricks and deceit. Thanks to thinking like that, the lay person feels joyful and satisfied. That is the first happiness in this life. What is the happiness of using and enjoying wealth and property properly? Thanks to righteous ownership of wealth and property, living expenses, spending on everything for the family, shopping for living amenities, building houses, erecting doors, getting married, giving children in marriage, festivals, etc. Avoid death anniversaries, happy parties. Lay people feel their souls are light and peaceful. Occasionally, knowing how to help poor people, altruism has the opportunity to arise. In addition, lay people also know how to save a small amount to make offerings to monks and monks to accumulate blessings for the future with a satisfied and contented mind. That is the second happiness in this world. What is happiness because there is no work or debt? Good people, gentle people, people with virtuous lives, whenever they owe something or owe someone, they worry day and night, can't eat well, can't sleep peacefully, and keep an eye on their hearts. And the fire of shame and discomfort continued to smolder every moment, every watch. Therefore, without any debt, big or small, the soul is peaceful, cool, and the days are peaceful and peaceful. This is called the third happiness in the human world. What is happiness without being laughed at or scolded by people? This is because the life of a lay person has compassion and dignity and knows how to preserve body, speech, and mind. In dealing with family and relatives, when communicating and dealing with friends and society, they are always gentle, submissive, and sincere, so there is nothing to repent, regret, feel insecure, or afraid of. That means that from their gestures, actions, words, voices to thoughts, they have no mistakes. No one can laugh at or blame them. This is called fourth happiness. Hey guys, among those 4 types of happiness, the fourth happiness is the noblest and noblest because it is the open door to enter the treasure of Tathagata's teachings. A person who has no mistakes in body, no mistakes in speech, and no mistakes in mind has lived a life with healthy precepts, 5 precepts, and has had 10 good virtues, 10 virtues. Thanks to that, his mind is clean and pure. For example, the land in the heart has been cleared of bushes and cleared of grass and trash. From here, he can sow good seeds there, water them, add fertilizer, and diligently fertilize them. Then in this life and the next life, the flowers and fruits will be luxuriant, and he will be able to freely harvest a bountiful and prosperous harvest. Elder Sudatta suddenly said, "World-honored one, for a long time, living in the bush, doing business, the disciple felt that he had many mistakes in body, speech, and mind. Now, thanks to this teaching, I vow to try to live a better life." However, disciples do not understand the similarities, differences, highs and lows between maintaining precepts and giving alms. Also, what will be the blessed results of giving alms to the poor, making offerings to Buddha and monks? Hey Sudatta, Buddha explains, he is a generous person, rich in compassion. Before meeting Tathagata, he already knew how to love and care for the poor and unfortunate, knew how to help lonely and desolate people. The blessings of that kindness would help him enjoy material prosperity for many generations. He also offered food to Tathagata, and Tathagata's disciples were pure assemblies, so the merit of that offering was even greater. Why is that? Because not only do you enjoy material prosperity, but you also sow the path and fruition of liberation. Yesterday, Tathagata suggested that he donate the entire construction project of Great Monastery, to the monks of the 10 directions. Tathagata wanted to make his blessings even greater. Why is that? For designing monasteries, building monasteries, and almshouses for monks to have a place to live and live properly, that blessing is even greater than making offerings to the Tathagata. Hey Sudatta, the Buddha continued to preach. Tathagata's teachings need successors to develop far and wide, and the monks of the 10 directions will do that. Furthermore, the seeds planted here and there by the monks of the 10 directions will continue to exist for many thousands of years on Jambudvipa and other continents. He must understand for himself that wonderful cause and effect to rejoice that he has done a rare good deed. However, no matter how great it is, no matter how rare it is, all almsgiving such as charity, almsgiving such as offerings to monasteries, Tathagata, and monks in the 10 directions are still not equal to taking refuge in the 3 jewels. Why so? Because when there is too much material abundance, due to enjoying the blessings, people will become lazy about good dharma, like a life of enjoyment, and be greedy for the 5 senses, easily lost on the way home. Taking refuge in the 3 jewels is the true direction for the boat of life. Practicing the 5 precepts after taking refuge in the 3 jewels is even more wonderful, because at that time you are walking on the true path, perfecting yourself. Practicing the concentration of loving kindness is more important than the 5 precepts, because only with precepts can there be concentration, and concentration of loving kindness brings coolness and happiness to oneself, to others, to non-humans, and to the surrounding gods. And finally, the ultimate blessing of all is to practice insight, clearly see the impermanent, selfless nature of all dharmas, to liberate all suffering in the 3 realms and 6 paths. After that teaching and encouragement session, the wealthy Sudatta family, dozens of servants, and more than 100 guests all asked to receive the precepts. Just 2 days in monastery, the fresh wind of the Buddha's teachings blew throughout the city of Savatthi and the suburbs. Many different classes came to listen to the Dharma. However, the Buddha only preached the 3 times in 3 afternoons, and the other 2 afternoons he entrusted to the Venerable Sariputta. And as usual, in the evening, the Buddhist precepts the monks, In particular, he talked about the cultural characteristics and beliefs of each region. What customs and practices are similar, and how are they different? There are things that are still good and useful for human morality and should not be touched. If it is related to the Dharma, it must be flexible to develop and expand. If there are things that are too dark and stupid, you should be patient for many days or months to educate them. Any value that has become popular has become a measure of social morality. Tathagata's disciples must know to respect. Anything that people laugh at is considered a forbidden precept, a rule that must be observed when behaving, communicating. Late at night, the Buddha preached the Dharma to the gods, yakshas, non-humans, and living gods in the area. The god Saka came down to pay respects, wished him well, and then instructed the 4 heavenly kings to protect the monks. Brahma Sahampati's halo lit up the whole area. He came down to pay his respects, visit his old friend, welcome him, and rejoice when he saw the Dharma being developed in this Kosala country. During a week, many people rejoiced and asked for refuge. Occasionally, there are some harsh interrogations due to ideological differences. The Buddha also just smiled and did not answer, and then Venerable Sariputta resolved the matter smoothly. Venerable Ananda admired his Dharma brother very much. He was like a shadow that never left his side, always asking about the Dharma. The other day, a group of 30 Pavaya monks from the northwestern and northernmost regions of Kosala, leading more than 100 new monks, came to pay their respects to the Buddha and ask for his health. They were very happy to see the numerous monks and the great work of monastery. The Buddha thoroughly inquired about propaganda. They said it was only developed in a few densely populated towns. The further they went, the more land they had, the fewer people, and most of them were too poor, and begging for alms was very difficult. Sometimes I travel all day and only see a few leaf huts on the hillsides and foothills. Furthermore, human-based beliefs such as God worship, devil worship, snake worship, cow worship, sexual idol worship, and even extreme forms of asceticism are deeply rooted in the concept of customs in daily life. Therefore, it is very difficult for them to access the pure and healthy Dharma, which requires their own efforts rather than praying to others like ours. The Buddha encouraged them, saying that this was a common difficult situation, that every propaganda group had similar obstacles. The Buddha also noted that bhikkhus who are still weak in learning and practicing the Dharma should not be allowed to propagate it. They need a long time to practice and study. Then, the Buddha told Venerable Sariputta to give precepts to 100 new monks. Seeing that work here had calmed down for a while, the Buddha was about to leave when the merchant Sudatta brought a person, luxuriously dressed, with a beautiful appearance. He knelt down and said, "World-honored one, this is the young man Subhuti, the disciple's younger brother. For a week now, he has been attentively listening to the teachings. His mind has not left the teachings, so he feels joyful and satisfied. Now, the disciple's younger brother wants to become a monk and live a holy life, hoping that the world-honored one will save him." Contemplating the cause and condition, the Buddha clearly saw and knew that this young man had practiced 15 generations ago with the perfectly enlightened Buddha. Since the time of Buddha Padumuttara, he has been a famous Nanda monk in many directions. Later, this young man will be a monk who likes to live in the mountains and forests and is considered the first renunciate. The Buddha smiled at the lotus bud, nodded, said a few words of precepts, and then told his 2 chief disciples to prepare for Subhuti to receive precepts immediately, and he would prove. Looking at the new bhikkhu wearing alms bowl and solemn appearance as if he had been a monk for a long time, the Buddha exhorted, "Hey Subhuti, you have a deep foundation, so live a holy, pure life. Now go with Tathagata to Bamboo Forest Monastery." Then he continued, "Tathagata still has a lot of work to do in Rajagaha and Vasali, so Sariputta, on behalf of Tathagata along with Devadatta, Mahanam, Kimbila, and Bhagu, must stay here to look after this assembly." Coming to Bamboo Forest with Tathagata were only Ananda, Anuruddha, the new bhikkhu Subhuti, and the attendant Upavana. When he reaches Vasali, the Tathagata will consult with the elders of that area and add more capable arhats to maintain and develop the Jetavana. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to the video about the life of Buddha Shakyamuni, adapted from the work A Life, a Sun and Moon by Master Geoy Duck. This video series will be broadcast at 7 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the YouTube channel Buddhist Story. We sincerely thank you for watching. To not miss the next episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you find the content useful, please share this video with your relatives and friends. All your comments are very valuable to us. Please leave comments below the video so we can discuss and share together. Thank you, and see you again in the next episodes of the video series, The Life of Buddha Shakyamuni.